If you were planning to buy an Xbox sometime this year, I need you to stop what you are doing and pay close attention to what Microsoft just announced, because you have a deadline and it is coming faster than you might expect. On June 25th, Microsoft published a statement on Xbox Wire confirming that every single Xbox Series X and Series S console is getting a significant price increase, effective August 1st, 2026. The Series S starts at $500 now, the same price as a PS5 with a disk drive cost at launch back in 2020. The Series X with a disk drive is going for $800. That is $300 more than the same console launched in November 2020. And this is not the first time Microsoft has raised Xbox prices in recent memory. This is the third price increase in 15 months. The reason Microsoft is giving for all of it is the same reason PC builders, laptop buyers, and anyone who has tried to upgrade their computer recently already knows all too well. The global memory and storage crisis is getting worse, not better, and Microsoft is now warning publicly that it expects prices to double again by fall 2027. Let us go through exactly what is changing and when, because the specific numbers matter for anyone trying to make a purchasing decision before August 1st. Every 512GB variant of any Xbox console is going up by $100. Every 1TB variant is going up by $150. The Xbox Series S, which launched in 2020 as the affordable entry point at $299, will now cost $499 in its 512GB configuration and $599 in the 1TB version. The Xbox Series X Digital Edition, which has no disk drive, will cost $749. The Xbox Series X with a disk drive will cost $799. And in a separate development that signals just how serious the storage cost situation has become, Microsoft is discontinuing the 2TB Xbox Series X entirely, which the company described as sunsetting the model. If you wanted a 2TB Xbox, your window to buy one is closing very soon. The statement Microsoft published alongside these price increases is worth reading carefully, because it contains a specific admission about where memory prices are headed that every gamer, PC builder, and tech buyer in the US, UK, and Canada should take seriously. Microsoft wrote that console storage and memory prices have increased by more than 2.5 times since their last price increase, and that they expect another doubling by the fall of 2027. Read that again. A doubling of already elevated prices by fall 2027. Microsoft is not a small company making a guess. They are a $1 trillion technology corporation with direct visibility into memory market supply chains through their Azure data center operations, their hardware procurement teams, and their supplier relationships across the industry. When Microsoft says publicly that they expect memory prices to double again within 18 months, they are not speculating. They are telling you what their procurement data is showing them. The context that makes this Xbox price increase story bigger than just a console pricing story is the pattern it represents across the entire consumer electronics industry. Apple killed its $600 Mac Mini earlier this year after DRAM prices surged approximately 90% in a single quarter, driven by Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron redirecting production capacity toward high bandwidth memory for AI data centers. This week, Apple extended price increases to MacBooks, iPads, and home products while leaving the iPhone unchanged. Sony has raised PS5 prices multiple times during this generation. Nintendo is navigating its own component cost challenges with Switch 2. And now, Microsoft is raising Xbox prices for the third time in 15 months. Every major consumer electronics company is simultaneously telling you the same thing. Memory and storage costs have gone up dramatically, and they are not coming back down to where they were. This is not a temporary supply disruption. This is a structural shift in how the global memory supply chain is being allocated, and the companies that have visibility into it are all saying the same thing about where it is heading. The irony at the center of this story is one that has not gone unnoticed in the gaming and tech community, and it deserves to be stated plainly. Microsoft is one of the primary drivers of the AI infrastructure boom that is consuming the memory and storage supply that is making Xbox consoles more expensive. Microsoft's investment in OpenAI, their Azure AI infrastructure, their Copilot integration across Windows and Office, and their broader push into AI-powered services has contributed directly to the massive demand for high bandwidth memory and NAND flash storage that has been draining the consumer electronics supply chain. When Microsoft writes in their statement that the entire consumer electronics industry is struggling with the current components crisis, they are technically correct. What they leave unsaid is that Microsoft itself is one of the companies whose strategic decisions contributed to creating that crisis. The same corporation raising your Xbox price is one of the organizations whose AI investments helped create the conditions that made the price increase necessary. The historical price trajectory of the Xbox Series X is worth laying out clearly, because the cumulative increase since launch is more shocking when you see all three price hikes together rather than in isolation. The Xbox Series X launched in November 2020 at $499. Microsoft raised it to $599 in May 2025. They raised it again in October 2025, pushing it to $649. The August 2026 increase takes the 1 terabyte model to $799. That is a total increase of $300 from the original launch price, a 60% increase in the cost of the same console over 6 years. The Xbox Series S has gone from $299 at launch to $499 for the 512 gigabyte model, a $200 increase representing a 67% price growth. These are not the kinds of price increases that reverse when component markets normalize, as one gaming industry analyst pointed out this week. Once prices are established at a new level, platform holders historically do not bring them back down, even when their own costs decrease. The immediate practical question for anyone who owns or is considering buying an Xbox is what to actually do before August 1st. If you have been on the fence about buying an Xbox Series X or Series S, and you have the money available right now, buying before August 1st saves you between $100 and $150 compared to buying the exact same hardware the day after the price change takes effect. That is a real saving on hardware that is not changing in any way. The same processor, the same storage, the same controllers, the same game library. The only thing changing on August 1st is the number on the price tag. The 2 terabyte model is even more time sensitive because once current stock sells through, that configuration is gone permanently. If you specifically wanted the largest storage option for your Xbox and you have not bought it yet, the window is closing faster than the August 1st deadline for the price increase. The broader gaming ecosystem implications of this Xbox price increase ripple outward in ways that affect more than just Xbox buyers. Sony will be under similar cost pressure for PS5 and will face the same decisions about whether and when to raise prices further going into the holiday season. The PS6 and Microsoft's next Xbox generation, both of which industry analysts expect to be announced within the next 12 to 18 months, will be designed around a memory market that is dramatically more expensive than the one that PS5 and Xbox Series X launched into in 2020. The expectation that the next generation of gaming consoles will launch at significantly higher prices than any previous generation is now the industry consensus rather than the speculation it was 12 months ago. Microsoft's own statement predicting a further doubling of memory costs by fall 2027 is essentially a preview of what next-generation hardware is going to cost if that prediction proves accurate. For PC gamers watching this Xbox story, the news is both a cautionary tale and a data point that reinforces advice that has been on repeat throughout 2026. The components that cost money today are going to cost more money tomorrow, and the organizations with the deepest visibility into supply chain dynamics are all pointing in the same direction. If you have been putting off a RAM upgrade, an SSD expansion, or a new build because you're waiting for prices to improve, Microsoft's public statement that they expect memory costs to double again by fall 2027 is the most direct and credible piece of market intelligence you are likely to see from any major technology company this year. They are not saying this to manipulate the market. They are saying it to explain and justify their own pricing decisions, which means they believe it strongly enough to put it in a public statement that will be scrutinized by their customers, shareholders, and regulators. The gaming community's reaction to these Xbox price increases has been a mix of resignation, frustration, and dark humor, with many commentators noting that the Series S has now reached the original launch price of a full-featured PS5 with a disk drive. The Series S was specifically designed and marketed as the affordable entry point into current generation gaming, the console for people who could not justify $500 for a PS5 but wanted current-gen performance. That value proposition has now collapsed entirely. At $499, the Series S is in direct price competition with platforms and products that offer meaningfully more capability, and the Series X at $799 is approaching a price point where a budget gaming PC with Steam and access to the full PC game library starts to become a serious alternative for buyers who are sensitive to what they get for their money. Microsoft has attempted to soften the impact of these price increases by highlighting the strong game lineup coming in the second half of 2026, including Grand Theft Auto 6, Halo Campaign Evolved, Gears of War E-Day, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, all of which are available on Xbox Game Pass. The argument Microsoft is making is that the value proposition of the Xbox ecosystem is not just about the hardware, but about the software library and subscription services that the hardware unlocks. That argument has some merit for buyers who are already invested in the Xbox ecosystem and who get significant value from Game Pass. For buyers who are on the fence or who are looking at their first console purchase, the math has simply become harder to justify at the new price points, and Microsoft knows it. The final and most important thing to understand about this Xbox price increase story is what it tells us about the timeline for relief. Microsoft, with all of their supply chain visibility, expects memory prices to double again by fall 2027. That timeline means there is no near-term scenario in which gaming hardware gets cheaper. The PS6 and next Xbox will launch into this environment. PC builds will continue to be more expensive than they were in 2024. Laptops will cost more. Monitors, peripherals, and other hardware will feel the effects. The memory crisis that started as a supply chain disruption and has been confirmed by Microsoft itself as a structural reality that will define consumer electronics pricing through at least 2027 and likely beyond. Buy what you need when you can afford it. Know that waiting is unlikely to reward you with lower prices, and factor the current market reality into whatever hardware decision you're making today.